What is up in the house tonight, guys? How you doing, Matty Fresh?
First of all, thanks for having me. But to be honest, I'm bored as hell, and I'm glad you had me on. I miss football. They got me betting on ping pong and watching Player 54 reruns over here. So I had literally nothing else to do. I'm so glad you called and asked me to be on the show because it's going to be a long, 40 days until we get this thing going again.
It's going to be a while. You know, once we finally get those final rosters, that's when I'm truly going to be happy, being able to really pick some things apart and discuss. Right now, we're kind of just spitballing still, with the exception of the few updates that are coming out. And, dude, you see that. Everybody's hitting the same stuff right now. I mean, there's a lot of content being made.
Yeah, training camp right around the corner, and it's coming up quick. It'll be interesting. I know one of the more interesting details is which team's getting paired together. Hopefully they have another documentary planned because I know last year we missed out on some of those plane rides. I always said that they should put a camera on the plane if the teams are going to be flying together. This year I want to see all the training camp behind the scenes because this XFL, USFL pairings for teams practicing together is absolutely going to get chippy. There's no doubt guys are going to be chirping, and I want to see it. I want to see all of it. This is a league of access. Let's see it, baby. 1 week till Arlington.
Oh, man, there's no telling what we missed last year not being able to view this stuff, especially considering some of the rivalries that were created. You know, when we started, there wasn't much there, but as we kept going, you kind of saw some stuff coming out in the woodworks, which that's good. More competitiveness, more drive to win. I'll take it all, seriously.
Yeah, and it's starting already, man. I saw your boy Brandon Silvers chirping some Brahmas fans. He's saying he never lost to the Brahmas. It's always fun, especially when you got three teams in the beautiful state of Texas. And unfortunately, DC will go 3-0 against them the first 3 weeks of the season. So
I love it. I love it.
Sorry, anyone out there listening from the Lone Star State, but you know we had to rep.
I respect it. Like I told you before we started, I will not be repping a team this year. I'm just going to try to stay neutral and watch and enjoy. We'll see what happens.
You're like you remind me of Rob Lowe, who was sitting in the stands with the NFL hat on, just like there. Yeah, he's like, I love football, baby. That's awesome. We're gonna make you the league mascot.
I love it, dude. It's a good spot. And after the merger stuff, I don't know. I think it's better for me to just do what I do and let them do what they do and enjoy everything in the process.
It's better than, making this big deal about which team am I going to pick? I mean, it's all I see now. Which team am I going to pick?
Yep.
Nobody gives a shit what team you pick. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, especially if you're in Texas, you got a lot to choose from there.
Yeah.
You could even switch if you wanted to.
No one's going to notice, right? I could probably put on a BattleHawks hat halfway through the season, and like 8 people would say so. You know what I mean? Like,
oh no, you start doing your show with a BattleHawks hat on. That's going to change the vibes a little bit, sir. Just a little bit.
Well, AJ said he was going to send me a jersey if he came back. So I don't know if I can hang that up. We'll see.
Well, since we brought up AJ, let's go ahead and talk about him. I know Matty Fresh, so I didn't introduce you fully. Springball Boulevard. I've had you on before. Good guest. I mean, we found out all about you on the previous episode. We talked for a while just about you and what you kind of do, and you're a musician as well, which a lot of people may not know. They should if they look at your YouTube, though. Recently, you had an interview with AJ McCarron, and it sparked a lot of controversy about what he said and what he thought. So, I mean, I guess let's just discuss that a little bit, and then afterwards we'll talk about some of the UFL updates we have.
Yeah, obviously, I think it's been heading into this. One of the biggest stories of the offseason was AJ McCarron and some of the comments that he made after the season. He at one point said he was going to run it back. He at one point said he was going to take it day by day. When we interviewed him after the season, he said he was going to see how it went. He ended up signing with Cincinnati, getting some game action. They love him there. Fans love him there. Organization loves him. It's where he got drafted. And as this decision approached, I just felt like we needed to give AJ a platform again because a lot of things may have changed since the end of May, and we were right.
Yeah.
We kind of did a full 180 after this merge on AJ's opinion of spring football, and he voiced his concerns. And I was so grateful that he was so transparent. You just don't, especially from a guy who's the face of the league. that's not something that he has to do for any reason. He can go to league ownership. He's got connections with all the decision makers, and he can have those discussions with them. The fact that he was willing to give us fans insight, I'm very grateful for. And I just feel like AJ had a mission, and that mission was to look out for not only himself and his family, but to look out for all the players that are going to be in this thing. And I think it was important things that were said, and it may have got some backlash like everything does. But at the end of the day, here we sit with AJ McCarron re-signing to the St. Louis BattleHawks. And that tells you all you need to know about what happened from the interview to the day he signed, right? Something changed, because that was not a man who was going to play in this league on that day. He made it obvious, right? He loves football. He loves St. Louis. He's so close with Coach Beck and Gradkowski and Dave Bowler and all of his teammates. And at the end of the day, he wanted to make sure that he was valued. And as you could see by him getting his own press release and all the coverage that came out, they do value him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that made me happy. That made me proud of what we were able to accomplish and what AJ was able to do.
Yeah, I mean the personnel notice that came out here. I'm going to pull it up real quick. It literally just says McCarron.
One guy. Yeah, I actually tweeted. I tweeted Coach Beck because Coach Beck's hilarious, man. I love that guy. I know he's a head coach of the rival BattleHawks for me, but man, what a guy. He had about 14 teasers. Every time was a different different GIF he put up. And I'm laughing the whole time thinking, man, he's having so much fun with this. He said he loves recruiting. And then I tweeted at him after he said, hey, we got, big news tomorrow. And I linked the little post from the UFL that said we had no transactions today. And I said, hey, it'll be whatever it is. It's going to be better than this. Even if we get one signing, it's better than the days that, y'all are trying to do shows and we got nothing to do with show. So yeah, that was cool to see. Man, it's St. Louis. That fan base is on fire right now. I could not believe the engagement that this thing was getting and how pumped people were to see him come back. Just a special energy that you're going to see in Arlington for training camp, I think, around this BattleHawks club.
Oh yeah. I'm excited coming in. They hyped it up. It's been hyped up so much. This team really has a lot to prove at this point. I mean, not necessarily to prove, but they need to prove, just showing, hey, we got our guy. He's ready to roll. We're going to win this thing.
Yeah, and I think from an offensive standpoint, they won the draft. I know DC, I'd say from a defensive standpoint, absolutely killed it. Like, not taking any credit away from Von Hutchins and co. for my defenders. They did a hell of a job. But offensively, it's undeniable. And I know we were seeing some things from Ja'Cour Pearson. I don't know if you caught these the last few days, but he was, putting some tweets out there. They're eventually deleted. You wonder what's going through. Like, I don't think Peasy signed his LOI yet. But I think he has full intent to play. He's drafted. But some of those pieces, I think, in St. Louis can really take them to the next level. And I think all of it, drafting Peasy, Blake Jackson, getting PETA on the defensive side of the ball, reinforcing that offensive line, and then you get AJ's buddy, Brandon Silvers, his childhood buddy, who grew up together in Alabama, to be, the guy holding the clipboard for him. So, like, what a situation, like, for AJ. He steps in, he pretty much checklist got about everything he wanted. Now, one thing I don't know for sure, and I can't report anything, I don't know the terms of this deal.
Gotcha.
I get a lot of DMs of people asking me what's going on. I don't know. I don't know the terms of the deal, and I respect AJ's privacy when it comes to that.
Gotcha. Are you willing to speculate on those terms of the deal?
I tell you what I told you before. He got what he wanted, or else we wouldn't have had this.
Gotcha.
AJ McCarron is not somebody who needs to take compromise, right? he's somebody who can hang it up right now and say, all right, that's fine with me. I'll go back to the Bengals, right? He had all the leverage in the world, and I think it was important that when he did have that leverage, he used it to be a voice for the league and not just himself. So I admire that.
Agreed. He could have easily sat this thing out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Money-wise, after having the year with XFL and then NFL. I mean, he came out pretty good last year in terms of cash.
Yeah, and it's really tough too when you think about all the hits he took. Like when you're playing that position, and he's got 3 boys, and he's got a family, and played half of an NFL season, actually pretty much a full NFL season. I think he got signed at the end of September. So just going through that grind, similar to what Ben DiNucci kind of did this year. I mean, you just take a lot of hits, and it's wear and tear on your body. And if you ask a guy for a couple of grand a week that has a family, and do you want to continue to do this, and try to play at the highest level, knowing the risk and how many injuries has this guy had? He tore his ACL a few years ago with Atlanta. He's had all kind of injuries early on in his NFL career. He had a falling out with the Browns when they didn't sign the paperwork to trade for him, and he ended up suing and getting money out of them because they completely dropped the ball in the entire situation. He's had a very interesting career, and I think a lot of it, I think it's when people say on Twitter, like, oh, can we quit it with the AJ hype? Like, this guy won back-to-back national championships, right? Like, let's not look at everything, just in a bubble here. Like, you have to look back and you have to respect. I think we do that a lot nowadays, right? We kind of focus on what's right in front of us. Like, you got a guy playing in the UFL who's a back-to-back national champion, cover of Sports Illustrated, right? Decorated NFL career as far as being able to stay consistently on a roster. That's not easy to do. And right. I'll toot the AJ horn all day. At the end of the day, I'm a Defenders fan, and AJ knows that when it comes down to the end of the season, I'll be rooting against him. But right now, I root for him.
It's good though, man. There's nothing wrong with that. Having respect for a player and being a fan, that's awesome. And if you can do that while repping your team, that's even better. It just shows how mature you are, no doubt.
He loves it. Yeah, we love the back and forth going on, and sitting in a press conference asking him questions in Audi Field last year. I'm not so sure that AJ would have had the reaction to some of that St. Louis DC game back in week 3. I think I got him going, like sitting in the front row. He's like, man, here's Matty Fresh, wants to interview me in the preseason. Here he is sitting in the press conference asking me about what went wrong, like it's an interesting back and forth. And I'm very grateful that AJ's a friend and AJ's a good guy. And I'm hoping he stays off his back this year, because man, Trent Harris and Tim Ward are coming, baby.
Yeah, I'll miss old Trent Harris down in Houston, no doubt. One of my guys. Sure. So yeah, that's a good one to note for sure. I mean, so with the interview itself, is there anything, if you could sum it up basically for someone that hasn't watched it, very simply, I mean, what occurred basically, and what do you think came out of it in your opinion? I know you said he got what he wanted.
Yeah. You could tell who didn't watch it, right? Because some of the comments and the replies that I get from these absolute stooges, like, oh, this guy said the USFL has no talent. He said the absolute opposite. He said he had respect for the USFL, and he thought they had some talent. He was just bringing his opinion honestly, that it was hard to watch some of those USFL games, and he thought the XFL had more talent. But that absolutely wasn't the focus of the interview. Just making a point about, you can tell, right? If someone just saw a lot of paraphrasing that was incorrect from that interview that other outlets ripped off of my YouTube and then decided to repost. So I'll set it straight right here on the UFL Insiders Podcast. You heard it from me, that if you really want to know what this interview is all about, it's about what AJ's been up to currently from last May when we heard from him to February, which there's been a lot. It's been with Cincinnati. His former coach, Nick Saban, retired. He had some thoughts on that. So we started off with that, and then we really got into AJ's concern with this deal between the USFL union and how that was going to transfer over, and the XFL players were going to be represented by that union, and not really having a choice in some of the concerns that maybe league ownership should have made clear. And I'm glad we did talk about that, because it gave the USFL union a chance to respond, to which point that AJ's call to action kind of worked out. So all the concerns that he brought in concerns about player housing. He brought in concerns about no more win bonuses. Things like, overall benefits like training and meals and things that kind of were being cut out of the equation with this deal. He referenced a lot about the living situation. Again, this was not necessarily all about pay. Just a lot of the different things he definitely wasn't on board with.
Yep.
And then we ended the conversation with him announcing that he would not make a decision at that point, and he was going to talk to his agent and his family and have a decision. And 2 weeks later, in the course of the 2 weeks from the interview till today, he had a long conversation with the representatives from the USFL union. I truly think he taught them some things they didn't know, and they taught him some things that he didn't know. It was a productive conversation from both sides, from some professionals. And we came out of that conversation realizing that maybe it was league management and league executives that weren't necessarily being so upfront with both sides, right? So then there were conversations with Daryl Johnston and other people up at the top when it came to AJ's camp, and not just AJ's camp, but really all around the league. And I think they came to the conclusion that it's not necessarily that they're locked into this salary. The league can always negotiate, just like the XFL did, with individual players. I think the league might have just been a little bit afraid to open up the floodgates.
Yep.
Because then you're going to have some of the most persistent folks in the world who are sports agents, wanting everybody to get theirs. And hell, I just sent a DM to Jacor Pearson the other day, and I said, man, they better be paying you what you deserve now, right? Like, these are guys that I understand cutting costs, and I'm grateful for spring football. And I know that in 3 to 5 years from now, if this stuff works out, this is going to be the guys that we look back on and thank and say, wow, for the first few years, this was really rough. And these guys, some of them, just gutted through this whole thing and were away from their families for months, and were maybe living in an apartment with some teammates to split housing costs, and, just doing anything they could to get by and play in this league. 3 to 5 years from now, if this thing works, those are the guys we're going to look back and say, thank you. And that's what AJ was trying to get across, that if you want to be part of the group that revives spring football and makes it permanent, there's going to be some sacrifices that need to be made, but there's a line, right? There's a line you can't cross into the UFL becoming this league where it's like, now you got to pay to be in this league, right? Like, at the end of the day, AJ was trying to say, you work to get paid, right? Like, this isn't charity.
Yeah.
So, some people are unhappy with that. Oh, take your opportunity, be grateful. It's nonsense. You don't know what these guys go through to play a season. But yeah, it was a productive interview, and I truly didn't know going into it if he was going to make a decision during that interview. And I had to ask. I would have been doing all of our audience a disservice if I didn't ask, and I did ask. And 2 weeks later, we have a decision. AJ's back. Anthony Beck's happy. St. Louis is going to go crazy on April 6th when the champs come into town to play. And I'm so happy it worked out. I really am.
Yeah, that all went really well. I mean, me and you, we were talking about getting you on before you even did that interview. And then we had just so worked.
Glad we held off.
Yep, where we could actually discuss it now, because if we'd have met originally, we'd still been waiting in limbo the whole time.
Yeah, we'd have been talking about how did Arlington manage to get the first pick in the dispersal draft that just fell out of the sky into their lap. That we would have been debating over Jeff Badettin and why nobody took him in the draft. But hey, at least we got something to talk about now.
Anything's better than way too early power rankings.
Yeah, anything better than, hey, let me here's the top 8 quarterbacks, how hot they are by my wife. Like, yeah, I had enough. Can we play some football, please, and bet on some games? It's driving me insane.
It's getting closer, my friend. It's ticking down now because it's so close. But I understand that fully. I really do.
Yeah,
I mean, go ahead.
I'm just ready. I just love the back and forth between. I'm all in on this XFL versus USFL thing. I get cooler heads might prevail, and they don't like. Some people don't like the tribalism. Let's go, baby! Right? This is what sports are all about. This really is. It makes it more fun almost to be like back and forth with the USFL side. And I'm telling you right now, Springball Boulevard season 2, we are going to fully embrace carrying this XFL torch into this merge, because there's been a lot of animosity, and forget all the fans going back and forth, right? People forget what Daryl Johnston said. He said he could not believe that the XFL outperformed as far as ratings because they had ABC, or they had Fox, and they had most of their games on network. And people forget that Daryl Johnston said he couldn't believe, because from a performance standpoint, XFL wasn't even close. Then you had all the Pat McAfee stuff, right? Him piling on and saying the XFL was 50 times better, and trying to kind of get The Rock to agree, but The Rock, he turned heel, right? But he didn't quite turn heel. I'm ready for him to turn heel on the USFL. That's the next thing, right? I'm ready for him to come out week 1 and just like wear that Arlington Renegades jersey and just be like, hey, here I am again, But yeah, I guess I understand people that are like, oh, this is a new league and let's all get along. Man, nobody gets along in sports. Let's have some fun, right? This is what it's all about. And I think from our standpoint as media, it gives us an opportunity to kind of reshape the media landscape and take a step back and say, let's focus more on having fun and covering stuff that fans want to see, instead of just the regular BS that you get, about what it might look like in the NFL. And so it shouldn't look like that for the UFL. We should kind of look a little bit different and bring more fun as far as coverage.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, we're not ESPN. We're not, ABC.
Right.
It's a little setup, a little different for us. And much respect to those that do roll that way. But I'm the same way, where it's like, I don't post much myself personally, like on Twitter or X, just because this is what I do. We get on here and we talk, and this is how I do my things. But,
Right.
Much respect, however you want to do it. I think, for the most part, I'm good with everybody. And I just don't like the guys that hop on the stream talking about penis jokes and shit.
Hey, you need to start screening that chat, man. Start blocking them left and right.
Oh, they're banned.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, dude, no worries. So about AJ, I mean, so do you see him returning to the NFL at any time? What do you think next year he's going to hop back in?
Yeah, he'll be right back with the Bengals. AJ's loved. Cincinnati loves him. The fans love him. The organization loves him. He's got a lot of people there that he has connections with from back in 2015. He'll be back. I think probably the plan for Cincinnati is they're going to bring a young guy in for the offseason and then get the vet back when camp rolls around. And another thing, as we sit here and wait for spring football for another 40 days, it's kind of tough when the season ends in middle of June. That doesn't give guys much time.
Yep.
One thing that I hated about the USFL, aside from several other things, was the schedule, right? It's like, what are we doing here? You got guys that are, they're walking right out of the facility in a training camp, with no time off. So I thought that the calendar that the XFL had figured out last year was perfect for guys to get a little bit of time off. And, it wasn't perfect. I shouldn't say that, because I like how they fixed the schedule and put the championship game 1 week after conference titles, because the 2-week thing was stupid. Not only did all these guys who were walking off non-playoff rosters signing with mini camps getting invites right away, your best 2 rosters had to sit around and wait, 2 weeks to have a consideration to get, I don't know if that hurt some of them. I still don't know if that if NFL scouts were like, let me just start inviting guys that I have access to. But they fixed that at least. But it's going to be tough, man. June 16th, and then you got to turn right back around, and training camp will start a month after that. So it's a quick turnaround.
You excited about the training camp?
Yeah, I think training camp
next.
Yeah, training camp will be fun. I saw Mike Mitchell doing some great reporting as always. We love Mike, and the UFL Sports Illustrated partnership that he's been able to do. Told us that the XFL and USFL partnerships, right, in the as far as practicing together. We need to have like a Hard Knocks for this thing, man. I know they had Player 54 last year, but for everyone maybe watching who thinks there's tribalism between XFL and USFL fans, it might be 50 times as bad for the players, right? These are guys who they got so much to prove, and they're going to go in and they're going to say, man, you wish you were in our league, right? That's going to be the vibe. You wish you could have played up to our level, and it's going to be from both sides. And I love that because that's going to create so much competition in camp. You're going to get the best players on the field, and players are going to have something to play for. When a lot of these guys, I think, are still like, you might see it in St. Louis and DC, but we need guys that want to play for the city, right? That's the next thing. Guys that get excited to play in front of fans in that market. And I think you'll see a lot of markets come around. And I think that training camp is going to all be in Arlington, but I think guys will be almost have more of a sense of pride in playing for their respective cities and their respective markets than maybe they did last year. I think that's going to be a big factor this year. But yeah, training camp, and we got rosters cutting down to 50 after that. And unfortunately, you're going to see a ton of guys who are super talented. We already, one thing that really sucks about this merge, and I am grateful that we have spring football, but half of coaches, half of the players, half of team staff all lost their jobs. Imagine if they took UFL media and they cut all of us in half, and half of us made the cut, half of us didn't. That'd be devastating. It'd be like, wow, we lost a lot of good people. I mean, me and you go around to these games, we meet people that are in that press box, and some of the most driven, passionate people. We don't have, like, we can continue to cover the league. For these players, that wasn't the case. For these coaches, when Hines Ward walked away from San Antonio, they thought they were coming back, and now they're gone. So it really sucks to see all that happen. And now you have to go from that to now trimming to 50. So while it will be great competition because you're going to only get the best of the best on the field, it'll suck to see a lot of those guys who you almost wish there was like a team 9 like XFL had in 2020 where we can keep a practice squad of players in Arlington, right? Why not? And just pay them and then plug them in because there's going to be injuries. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So, yeah, looking forward to training camp. I know they'll do a great job with content. Fox is a powerhouse coming into the picture. I think that'll be huge as far as coverage. I love Fox's XFL coverage in 2020, man. I don't know if you preferred it maybe over ABC and ESPN back then, but man, with Klatt on there and like some of the stuff they did, I think Fox had a cleaner presentation. I'll give them that. And I'm an XFL guy, and that's not knocking ABC or ESPN. I think like Tom Hart and Greg McElroy specifically are amazing at their job. I think John Schriffen and Tom Luganbill do an awesome job among some of the other ESPN crews, but Fox just brings it to another level, man. They really do. Like, they have football figured out, and that's why they got the NFL. That's why they got college football, big noon kickoff being the highest rated broadcast of the year. And let's bring Greg Olson right back, right? Man, he was awesome. I mean, you got Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson calling the Roughnecks against the Renegades in 2020, which what a game that was, right? The Texas Throwdown. And now they're calling the Super Bowl, right? The 3 years later. So I love to see it, man. And Fox is absolutely going to bring a powerhouse media organization into this thing. And I can't wait to see some of the broadcasts and what they do with it.
Yeah, it's super exciting on my end as well. Only thing I hope they stay away from specifically is the fake crowd noise. Leave that shit at home.
It's not COVID anymore.
Yep. Leave it at home. Let's roll with it. If it's quiet, oh well, do it too.
Yeah, no. You can't have that. You can't have that.
Otherwise, the 2020 stuff, man, just thinking about it makes me excited. Watching it, viewing it, looking up information, whatever. The whole thing, every experience had its own kind of its own interaction that you could get as a fan, and that was the best part about it. Especially the app.
Yeah.
If I don't remember, the app was super cool, dude. You had all kinds of cool functions. You could change your home screen or your icon on your home screen. That was sweet. So hopefully they
remember a lot of that. A lot of that was lessons that they learned from the WWE. It was just stuff that was coming over from how WWE was covered, and that was huge to have because no one has more followers across social media platforms. I mean, WWE blows everybody out of the water when it comes to that. But yeah, like talking about, that's the goal, right? Getting back to how it was in 2020. We had a kind of a soft launch last year, but yeah, think about some of the markets, and I'll even give some credit to the AAF when they started. I know they didn't make it through a season; it turned into a complete train wreck, but at the beginning, like you had the San Antonio team, 40,000 people in the Alamo Dome. Like they can absolutely get back to that with the Brahmas. And and I know you'll agree with me here because you're from the South. This is great. Like Birmingham and Memphis. I mean, let's go. Right. I loved Vegas because I love gambling. And they took my trip away. I get to go out. I get casino comps at the Westgate because they had a partnership with the Westgate. I get to go out and sit on the set of VSiN Live at Circa and talk to those guys about, I'm the only one in the damn casino who knows what might happen in the XFL game. I'm giving out picks to people. Like, I will miss that from a standpoint of overall success of the market. Yeah, Birmingham and Memphis. Let's go. Like football in the South. There was actually rumors that they might go to Louisville before all this, believe it or not. So I like that. I think that because you had Orlando, right? Keeping the markets in the South. Now you got 3 Texas, you got Birmingham, you got Memphis, St. Louis. Is this the SEC?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you're right.
It might as well be the SEC, and I love it because this is where people care about football. And I'm sorry to everyone on the West Coast who wants to sit around and whine about press releases coming out too early in the morning. Listen, football in the South's a different animal. It'll get back out West one day. I promise. It will. But right now, if you want this thing to work, you got to be in the South. You have to be in the South. And they did a good job with that.
No doubt. Texas is the place to be if you want to talk football. And people can argue left and right. I'm not from Texas. I'm not huge on Texas. It's not my favorite place, but I'll tell you, they love their football, whether it's high school, college, or here we are with XFL, UFL, and NFL. They're insane about their football that way. Whole nother crowd.
Yeah, I'm excited about Rice Stadium. I think that's cool. I think we need more of that. I know the University of Memphis doesn't own the Liberty Bowl, but they play there.
Yep.
So that's cool. And now you got Rice Stadium. I think we need more of that. I think we need more of like college football environments. I'm a big college football guy, and I know you being from the South are as well. I spent years down south covering Mississippi State and Ole Miss and Alabama, and
people love
guys like Matt Corral, right, who are going to fit right in coming out of Ole Miss. Oh my God, they loved him. I mean, he was like, what a story for him, like going back and forth in a quarterback battle with John Rice Plumlee, who I think is still playing college football all these years later. But like Matt Corral was benched at one point early on in his career, comes back, just has a phenomenal college career with Ole Miss, gets drafted to the Panthers, gets hurt in his last college game, gets hurt again in the NFL. And that's player 54 right there, man. Matt Corral. He's going to be special. And I'm glad that like what the XFL used to do back in 2020 with some of the local players, right, that were staying. I think that getting players in the markets that they came from in college is huge.
No doubt.
And I noticed DC's doing that. They just signed John Hightower, who came out of the DMV area. Matt Corral will fit right in Birmingham. I like that. I like when guys have their own built-in fan base. And everyone was talking about like, oh, AJ should come to Birmingham, right? Oh, they changed their tune up real quick, right? Yeah. As soon as he came out and said, I absolutely love St. Louis, there's no one else I'm playing for. I didn't hear much out of the Stallions faithful down there, and yeah, those guys down there act like they wouldn't have had AJ McCarron. They'd rather Jamar Smith. Okay, we'll see about that.
I got to hit up some of these comments. Sorry, guys. I've been I get into the conversation, man, and I forget. Oh, let's see. We're gonna dial it back. So let's see. Jackie said hi. What's up, Jackie? Nice to hear from you. Hope y'all's event today was good. She's from Horns Forward podcast.
Good turnout.
Yeah, you saw the pictures and the videos. It looked like they had a really good event that way. Super.
Man, that's another market that has potential to take off. And like just covering football in Texas and being around all these Texas teams, like, and it even happens with the colleges, right? When the teams are good, like you're going to get an amazing environment. But like with the Brahmas last year, they had a great crowd week 1, and then they had to see that, nonsense unfold. They had 1-0 in their sights. It changed their entire season. It took all the momentum out of the sales. And then from there on, they just couldn't find an offensive identity. They dealt with injuries, and attendance is going to, be affected by that sort of thing. And you saw it in Houston back in 2020, getting great numbers with PJ Walker and Cam Phillips slinging it around. And then last year, starting the season strong, but then kind of tailing off as the season went. The crowd reflects that. Like DC would not have 20,000 sellout crowd if they are 1-9. So yeah, I think the Brahmas are highly underrated, right? And I shouldn't even say underrated, because like who the hell cares about like what people say, right? But everyone's sleeping on San Antonio, man. Come on. I mean, Quentin Dormany and Cody Latimer coming in there, that's automatic. Mm-hmm. Those guys have a real, I mean, AJ Smith. Oh,
yeah, just having Wade Phillips, it unlocked a whole nother realm for them.
And that defense was already great.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's the thing. They were crazy. And now they got a lot of those Roughnecks guys coming over. John Trey Kirkland, man. I can't wait to see him play.
Yeah, the man.
Let's go. He's going to look good in black and gold. And yeah, it sucks the whole Hines Ward thing. I would have loved to have Hines Ward. I think that you need that, right? You need a guy who's Hall of Famer, and you need more exposure to the league. But, if it was going to be somebody, it had to be Wade Phillips, right? I mean, they did the right thing instead of going out and hiring somebody else, moving over Wade Phillips. And I'm glad that Coach Phillips and his staff was down with them and down to just transition right into San Antonio. And it has embraced the market, as you see with the fan event today.
Yeah, for sure. It should be a good time. I'm hoping to make a game that way. I went for the championship last year, and I know I saw you there. Fun. Yeah, dude, I had a good time out in the actual game and out of the game. Either way, great city, dude. Good time.
The Riverwalk, it's so much fun. I can't wait for our San Antonio trip.
You have to let me know.
We don't know, right? Officially, they said, right. It's been reported. I know that Fox Sports kind of leaked that St. Louis was the official site, but we never got anything official from the league, did we?
No, not that I know of. But
okay,
it's so choppy. It's like if you don't catch it right from the beginning. Sometimes it's hard to find the source of that news, depending.
Like, what reason would RJ Young from Fox Sports have to say that unless it was true? That's kind of how I see it.
Exactly.
I mean, unless there was a complete miscommunication. But yeah, to write that article, I mean, we talk on a show, right? Like stuff gets said, like, I try my hardest not to get canceled everything I say. But I mean, you're writing an article, like, you're proofreading that thing. Like, you got to make sure that you got the right info. I don't think RJ Young would have said that unless it was true. As we saw last year, how many things, I mean, geez, Rod Woodson sat up on Pat McAfee and basically announced the Vipers before they even knew they had a team.
Blew it up in the water, man.
Yeah, like this is going to happen, right? They have a content calendar and the ways they want to announce things. And clearly they've chosen to wait to announce where the championship is because they have a campaign right around that. But I think it's a safe bet that it's going to be in St. Louis. And man, I don't know if there's San Antonio was great, but St. Louis will be special for sure.
Yeah. I've been there a few times.
Can you imagine the DC Defenders winning a championship in St. Louis?
Yeah, I tell you,
I might not make it back alive.
You will not. I was about to say, you guys will not swamp out that stadium like you did in San Antonio. You're going to see some fights, some
Yep.
action. Yeah, I mean it's real. And the thing about that stadium, it's so tight. I mean, it's not small, but it's tight. And you go in, and the higher you get, the smaller it gets. And when you get out, I mean, it's shoulder to shoulder. Hell, when I went, the bathrooms were backing up, all kinds of craziness from it just being packed. So.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be there last year when they hosted Vegas. And shout out Stully, their communications director over there. If there was a first team all XFL communications, Stully is absolutely there from St. Louis. Guy is just, he's a professional, high-class guy. And, about 5 minutes after he tells me, hey, AJ's not here, he's not playing. So now I'm breaking that, and then Nick Tiano's ready to get the start against Vegas, and everyone's looking around like, where the hell is AJ McCarron right now? I'm standing watching warm-ups, and then funny enough, I'm watching Pita Taumopenu, the XFL Defensive Player of the Year out of Vegas, warming up, and I am just hearing some of the most absurd things. I can't repeat them. I mean, I'm sitting there like, I can't even record this and post it. Like, and he's like smiling. He's like, keep it coming, baby. How funny is that Pete is now a BattleHawk, right? And now they're gonna love him. Like that's the amazing thing about these leagues, and you get that in the NFL as well. But man, some of the stuff that was coming out of that front row directed towards Pita, I was like, I hope nobody has a mic right now for that guy's sake, because I don't think he'd be coming to many more BattleHawks games if they heard what he was saying. But hey, it's a league of trash talk, and it got Pita going, and he had a great game. But I'm sure he's excited to be on the other side of that, right? Nobody wants to deal with those St. Louis fans. That's for sure.
That's two total opposites, Vegas and St. Louis. Even right now, there is no Vegas.
And they produce a great game, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
It's an instant classic, that game.
That culture there is just so in depth. It's so deep for the BattleHawks. More than any other group, I'd say. That's my opinion. Is they come with the noise for sure.
And it goes to show you, if anybody, like, I don't know if this will happen, but if the NFL loses a market, the XFL or the UFL needs to be right there.
Yep.
On top of that, right? That, like, there's no better formula. And St. Louis has shown that. DC kind of has that because they've been so let down by Dan Snyder and the Commanders, right? And I think that it's tough for Houston because when you have the Texans doing what they're doing now, everybody's fired up about the Texans. How much passion is there left for the Roughnecks? In Dallas, it's like you got the Cowboys, but you also still have like a lot of passionate fans in Texas. But like they need some like external motivation, right? It's almost like you want the NFL team, like as a fan of spring football, like you want the NFL team to kind of go 3-13, so that the fans are like, yeah, I want to, you know what I mean? I want to go support the UFL. That's what we need. That's what happened in St. Louis, right? That's all it was, and that's like DC. I mean, they laid into Dan Snyder last year. He was half the chance in the stadium. So you have fans that are pissed off and fans that are hungry for winning. And that's what you need. You need an appetite for winning. And in Birmingham and Memphis, I think it'll be great because those are cities that probably would deserve an NFL franchise that just don't have one. So it's really cool to see that they'll get in this mix.
I'm a big fan of Memphis. That's where I started my spring football love with the Memphis Express, man.
I was looking at, they had Johnny Manziel, right? Or no,
yeah. I seen him lower his head and get knocked out the last game of the season. And it was, the funny thing about this is and it's not really funny, it's ironic, but the last game I saw of AAF was on my birthday, which is March 30th.
Oh,
here we go.
No.
March 30th.
That's crazy, man.
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I was a huge fan of them, man.
You're going to be born on the same day as the UFL. I mean, that is phenomenal, dude. That is awesome. That's incredible.
I know. I said this has got to be your year. If there's a year, this is your year, sir. This is it. It's got to be.
Yeah, like the stars have to align. And when Anthony Beck was tweeting out all the teasers for what was going to happen, actually, I got some DMs and everyone's like, people are like, oh, what do you think it's going to be? I'm like, oh, I already know. It's Johnny Manziel, guys. Get ready. And they're like, no. So fun. And there was PJ Walker. They're like, PJ Walker. I'm like, no, even better. They're like, who, dude? I'm like, Johnny, bro. And they're like, no way.
Dude, you had fans with the Express that they really believed Johnny Manziel was the answer. I mean, they truly believed it.
Yeah.
I like the star power, but in terms of play, you've seen it.
Yeah, I got to get down and see the pyramid, man. That's what I'm excited for, man. I got to see that pyramid.
Like I said, man, you figure out your dates. Let me know.
Yeah.
I'll probably be in Memphis and Houston for the most part during this season. So definitely try to meet up and do something crazy.
Sure. Houston has like a weird, I don't know if we'll make it to Houston. Houston has a weird schedule this year. I'd love to go, but I think everything's on a Sunday, which that doesn't help us because we're going to do a Sunday show. So our hands are pretty much tied as far as the schedule. We got to go to a lot of Saturday. We got to go, unless it's in DC, because it's just a stone's throw for me to get there. But yeah, you're not going to make it everywhere. Last year we didn't make it to Seattle. I was bummed about that. But I think we got everywhere else, and I don't know. That's going to be tough to do again because, like, Detroit is another interesting one. What's going to happen there? I feel like they do pretty well on socials. Like, they don't have the worst socials in the league. Like, they have some pretty good engagement out there in Detroit. And coming off the Lions run, that can only help, right? Get fans juiced up about football. Man, I would like to see, like, I don't know if they needed a rebrand. Like, I know that the USFL team, like, I like the Stallions. I think that's sweet. The Showboats is a cool, like, homage to Memphis. Michigan Panthers, you know what I mean? Like, that's one that maybe could benefit from a rebrand. And I don't know what you would do. You have some cool things with Detroit, with like the Motor City. The culture, like, I don't know. I don't love the Michigan Panthers brand. I think the color scheme is maybe a little tired. And I think that they could do a little rebrand.
You're just trying to piss some people off now, Matty. That's all you're
trying. That's what I do. Hey, it's the only other team on the East Coast, right? Like,
yep.
I gotta have we gotta start another rivalry now. Well, you know what I mean. Like, Detroit needs some juice. They need some juice.
That franchise over there with the NFL, at least, that they're showing out for the Lions right now. They really stepped their game up. So maybe they'll see that same kind of outpour there at the UFL.
I really hope so, man.
They really love their Lions that way now, and that was a different story 3 to 4 years ago.
It's tough to play in an NFL stadium too.
Yeah. Living up to the expectations there.
Right. Like, I was trying to think if there's any like local. I don't know if they don't have MLS there or anything. Like, you almost want more of like an Audi Field type of venue, to start out.
I think they all would be good there, dude. That'd be awesome games. Every place if it was like that.
Right. Yeah. But like Ford Field, man, that's tough. I mean, that's what that could probably hold 60, 70K or if not more. So
probably more because that's a big spot. But for sure, I agree with you. And even then, dude, if you get on, you can still only put deposits on for your season tickets. You still can't actually purchase them. So it's a little scary.
I am glad, though. I will say I'm not going to completely trash Michigan here. I think they have a shot. They have an interesting roster. But yeah, it just comes down to like, they had to be in the markets, right? Like, they couldn't have taken Philly, Pittsburgh, New Orleans. No, missing one. Who was the other USFL squad that got cut? Philly, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, New York, right? Had a team.
Generals.
Yeah. So, like, I'm glad that they did stay in Detroit because they had a stadium lined up. I think that was absolutely key. We can't do, and like a lot of the reports that came out, like before this merge went down, where it was like, oh, it's going to be 8 USFL, 4 XFL, or it's going to be a 2-hub model where St. Louis and Birmingham will play in St. Louis, and like DC and New Jersey will play in DC. Like, come on, like, you had to think they were never going to actually do that, right? I mean, that would have been crazy. I mean, you want to like self-sabotage your league completely. There's one way to do it, right?
No doubt.
So I am glad they stayed in markets, and I think they got the right 8 teams because, well, maybe other than Seattle, I would have liked to see Seattle survive. I think they had something going.
That's the most pissed off fan group right now, I'd say, out of the whole gang.
Well, they got the Supersonics taken away years ago, and that city loves their basketball. And I remember just all the, like, looking back as a kid, and I loved the Sonics, man, with, they had Ray Allen and Kevin Durant and Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. And I'm like, how'd they get rid of this team, And then it happened again with the Dragons. Well, at least they got their Kraken, though. They got the hockey back.
Yeah, they love that over there. They're big fans of that. It's the most of the negativity I get about this league comes from there only being 8 teams. Personally, I can't say I see too much regarding what's going on now. It's just what's happened. So.
Right. Yeah, they'll expand. It'll come with time for sure. And, you have to assume they kept a lot of the branding and trademarks and copyright and everything for a lot of these brands. And that, we could see some of them back someday. Like I said, they were already in talks for where, like, before this merge went down, where could they relocate Vegas? I can tell you right now, San Diego was like never an option. That was out. They were looking at the South. They were looking at Nashville. They were looking at Louisville as to where they might take Vegas. And I think when the merge came down and they got Birmingham and Memphis out of this, they were happy that they didn't have to, worry about not having enough teams in the South. I think they got what they wanted there.
Yeah, that's where it's at. Unfortunately, we know this.
It's gonna be hot, man. Some of these games. Jeez, I don't know if I'm ready for Memphis in May. Oh,
man,
it's gonna be hot.
It will be steamy for sure.
Yeah.
But right now, if you were there, it'd be cold as hell, dude. Especially in Liberty Bowl, because it's like a wind tunnel rolls through there, dude, and it's rough. I think the coldest I was at, it was like 25, snowing and sleeting, if I remember correctly. It wasn't too bad though, but man, that wind to get you.
Yeah, it's the only market out of all the 8 markets. That's the only city I've never been to, so I'm excited to get down there.
You'll like it, dude. Seriously, hit me up. I know some good spots. I'm from around that area. I won't say I'm from there, but I've been to Memphis more times than I could ever count, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. My zone. I'm happy about doing some coverage there because get to go check some things out, man.
Yeah.
Bill Street, it is what it is, but there's a spot called Overton Square you should check out sometime. A lot of good stuff going on. I try to stay down there whenever
I'm writing it down right now.
Because it's sweet, dude. It's a good little neighborhood, so check it out.
Sweet.
All right, let's hit up some comments. I've been completely neglecting the comments. Sorry, comment guys. I'm sorry. I get worked up in the convo and then forget. All right. So Trey does the CFC podcast. He's a big Canadian football guy. What are we talking about, Trey? Oh, they're arguing in the comments, I guess, huh? Oh, here we go. I got it. Should I mention to y'all that the CFL had 2 Rough Rider teams at one point? Let's see.
It's different up in Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, I had him on last week, and he said, he told me all kinds of stuff about Canada football that I did not know. So it's cool. Michigan Mustangs from Rick 8-Bit.
Genius. There it is. I mean, you got the Ford family, right? Ford Mustang. Yeah. Alliteration there. Like,
yep.
I don't know. I don't think you really want anything like. You don't want to copy the NFL.
No, that's what you don't want to do, in my opinion, as well.
Exactly.
And that's what I feel the Lions and the Panthers kind of is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Colors are different, but it is what it is on that. You can see for yourself.
Right.
Okay, got some more comments. Kenneth, my first love / appreciation for Silvers came from that season with the Express. Yep, same here. That's when I was following hardcore. I can't remember the guy.
Oh, you didn't watch him at Troy?
No, I did as well, though.
Yeah.
Because I was in Arkansas State going to college.
Oh.
So it was the Sun Belt Conference was on fire those years,
good,
dude.
Man.
There was so much good football. Ooh, makes me get all tingly thinking about it. That's college football at its finest for me. That Sun
Troy
Belt
is such a good program. And, I remember watching Silvers back then, and, man, he was a dog. And a lot of these guys, like Case Cookus, right? I got to learn a lot about Case Cookus when we're talking about Memphis here, because this is a guy from Northern Arizona who was FCS Rookie of the Year as a freshman. I mean, he just tore it up in FCS. And he's had an interesting pro career as well, playing in the USFL for the Stars and everything. So I'm seeing a lot of people in Memphis excited about Case Cookus, and I got to learn more about the guy for sure. I gotta watch some Case Cookus film because I think they're on to something potentially with this guy, and it's pretty cool to see a guy like him come from little northern Arizona, or like a Brandon Silvers come from a Troy.
Yep.
That's cool to see for sure.
Silvers has some record breaking stuff there in Troy. I think he's still
sure.
most passing yards in the season or in a career. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up.
And they just had a great quarterback in Watson who came out of there as well, who stayed for 4 or 5 years and played. Yeah, it's just such a good program. I know they lost their coach to Tulane, which I thought was an interesting move. I wouldn't call it a lateral move because I know Tulane is also in the American Conference. That's a little step up from the Sun Belt. But yeah, hard to keep a coach when you're Troy because you get a guy in there, they do so well, and then all of a sudden they're getting P5 offers. So
yep, that's the goal with the whole Sun Belt thing. I
right.
saw that. I think there was 4 head coaches in my time from 2010 to 2015 at Arkansas State, if I remember correctly. And I mean, that was Hugh Freeze, and oh man, I can't even remember all of them. Hugh is the one I remember the most because he was a big name coming in.
Right.
But anyway, yep, memories right there, man.
Yeah, I like what he's saying about Silvers. Like Silvers, he's interesting. Like I don't think he's top 8. I don't think he is a top 8 quarterback in this league, but I think he found a good spot in St. Louis. I really do think him and AJ will have that chemistry together, and I think there couldn't have been a more perfect spot for him. I think we learned a lot from San Antonio not taking him.
Yep.
I'm not the one saying this about Brandon Silvers, but AJ Smith didn't take him. Wade Phillips didn't take him. And you wonder why, right? Because they rode with him all of last year. I know they threw Cole McDonald in sometimes, but he was largely their guy. And a lot of those guys went to San Antonio. I mean, a ton of them are going to be Brahmas. So you think about and maybe the guys that they did want, like Deontay Burnett, who ends up in Arlington, Ajane Harris, who ends up in Arlington. Like, I think Houston wanted some of those guys. They just couldn't get them. With Silvers, he didn't get drafted. It's not like somebody took him from San Antonio. They just passed on him.
Yep.
And yeah, I think we kind of saw why throughout the season. And this is a chance for him to get back with AJ and really make a run at a title. Backup QBs are important. We saw that in this league last year. Very important.
Agreed 100%. Just like kickers are important. We saw some games that were just on the edge of winning, missed field goal. So,
if Vegas had a kicker, they probably would have made the playoff last year. Yeah.
I think field goals in Vegas, and I think Charlie Brown, whoop, every time. Every time.
I saw it live, man. I saw it live. And
oh man, I wish
you could have heard. You could have heard Rod Woodson from the Strip. He cursed so loud when that happened. So,
all right, let me get a couple more comments and we'll roll on. Alex said, "So ready to see the BattleHawks home opener. Hopefully most of the top is filled." Me too, man. That'll be really awesome to see some.
You know what's interesting about that day that kind of sucks? It's Final Four, and I'm like, man, I wanted that. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted that XFL 2020 energy where it's like the whole country was tuned in for St. Louis against Arlington because that's the headliner. That's a team coming into St. Louis with an XFL championship. Bob freaking Stoops, man, like coming in. They beat Arlington last year, but Arlington ends up in the championship anyway and winning it all. Like, a lot of St. Louis fans pissed off that Arlington made the playoffs in the first place. Like, that almost has the makings of a little bit of a rivalry. You're getting it as the home opener, 8 o'clock primetime ABC, and you got the Final Four. It's like, damn, we can't ever have nice things. Like, why can't we just have everybody watching that? But it'll still be great for the city because last I checked, St. Louis University they're not making the NCAA tournament this year. So all the focus in that city will at least be on BattleHawks football. And I think there's some other things going on in the city that day from what I saw too. Like, I think the Cardinals might have a game. Was that another day? I forget. But yeah, they are going to show out. I think they'll break the record that day for sure.
Yeah, they're going to show out. I think out of all the cities to question, I wouldn't question DC or St. Louis or San Antonio right now. We'll see what happens as the season unfolds. But, it seems like with Wade Phillips down in San Antonio, the fan base is just jumping for joy. And so that I can see that, just
You're
engaging.
gonna see a huge resurgence from Arlington. I think that as well. I think they'll, wow. I mean, now you had the championship, and now you had the number 1 pick in the dispersal draft, and they took Lindsey Scott. Man, like, oh, what a guy! Lindsey Scott is going to be the most slept on quarterback coming into this thing. Nobody's going to know who he is, but man, he might end up. He would be like, if I was betting on XFL or UFL MVP preseason, I'd just take a flyer out on Lindsey Scott. There's a reason he was picked first. Just that's what I'll say about him.
Has he signed his LOI? Do you know?
See, that's one thing where it's so hard to keep up with. I have not seen if he has or not yet. But it's interesting because San Antonio was supposed to have that number 1 pick based on the reverse standings, right? And then there was a report that because of a trade that happened during the season, Arlington ended up having it. And I had mocked Lindsey Scott number 1 to San Antonio because he played at Incarnate Word right across the damn street. And I'm thinking, man, what a fit that would be for that fan base. And he ends up in Arlington, which kind of bummed me out because they have a ton of quarterback. Like, the rich get richer over there, right? But yeah, I think Lindsey Scott is a guy. If he does play in this league, watch out because, dude, he is a baller. I mean, he's an FCS Heisman. So much playing experience. Basically, had 6 full years of starting experience. I think he played actually at one of those. I don't know if it was EMCC. He played at one of the Mississippi JUCOs. I'm pretty sure at one point for a season, and then he ended up back at Incarnate Word. So yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool to see him.
Agreed. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about him since the original signing of intent.
So good. I mean, if you're taking him over Ja'Cour Pearson, he better be good, right? Like, come on. Yeah.
I'm excited for that as well, though. That'll be cool. But it's like, are we going to see an identity from the Renegades, or are they going to come out just swinging for the fences and seeing what works?
Interesting. Like, this kind of got brushed over, but Chuck Long taking over as OC. He was co-OC last year with was it Jonathan Hayes? Yeah, Jonathan Hayes. I guess Jonathan Hayes is not coaching anymore. That's what it seems. So.
I don't know. I didn't see him anywhere, but the coaching updates, unless you follow X or Twitter, it's hard to see who's where right now. Same thing with players. Yeah. We got to get some official stuff out.
Yeah, you're right though with Arlington. Like, what is that identity? Because they couldn't run it, they couldn't throw it up until about week 9 last year, and they used to just kind of rely on Sal Cannella while he's not playing anymore. So, but yeah, no, I mean, a guy well, Deontay Burnett,
baller.
Deontay Burnett. I mean, Arlington desperately needed receivers, and then they got a great one with Burnett. He's a
very dependable.
Spring football star, and I know that was what AJ Smith wanted in San Antonio, and they had to pass on him because you only get so many picks. But yeah, Arlington. I mean, like anybody who thinks, oh, this roster isn't like, what are you crazy? Like, it's Bob Stoops. Guy's a legend. Like, he'll be fine. The Renegades are going to win week 1. It's probably not going to be close. Like I said, if you give me Renegades, I think the Renegades are going to win that game by 2 scores at least. If they take their foot off the gas, I think they win by 2 scores. And then they probably, roll right into the second half of their schedule. I mean, I see Arlington being pretty solid.
Yeah. A lot of people are kind of sleeping on them too right now, from what I understand. I mean, when you look at the rosters, it makes sense, but we just don't know who's where. Like, even
but that's what they said last year. You know what I mean?
I agree
Arlington.
With that. But I mean,
Arlington.
We saw when they finally made that trade. But what if that trade wouldn't happen? It downhill from there. I mean, that trade
was crazy with Arlington last year. They came in as the favorites. I remember we had them at number 1 in our kind of like preseason poll, or maybe it was after week 1. And at one point in the season, they fell to as low as 8 in our poll. I mean, I had them below Orlando at one point. It was that bad. And then it kind of teaches you that in the NFL, what just happened? Everyone started doubting the Chiefs. Look what happened. In college football, everyone was out on Alabama after they lost to Texas. Look what happened. Arlington, everyone was like, I'll pass. Too many quarterbacks, 3-6, can't move the ball. They forgot it was Bob Stoops.
Agreed.
Right? And so the teams that we go into the year thinking are going to be good, I promise you, by the end of the season, those are the same teams that we're going to be talking about. There's going to be a lot that happens in between, right? And you're going to see teams make flashes. But at the end of the day, I think we can look and have a pretty good idea who's going to be contending for this title. And right now, I think it's a 3-person conversation between DC, St. Louis, and Arlington. But I know I'll get some pushback for that one. I think San Antonio's a dark horse, but I think Birmingham. We'll see with Birmingham. I think Birmingham's going to be a little disappointing.
So all I hear from this is I love the XFL. That's what I hear from that, baby.
If you smell.
That is what I hear from that sentence.
No, not me, dude. I'm not biased at all.
Hey, it's okay. I got my hat on for a reason. Let me get some more questions. Jay, let's answer Jay's question. He said, you think Lindsey Scott takes the starting job from Luis Perez? You can't forget about Holton Air. Say that name because I'll screw it up.
Holton Ahlers.
Ahlers. Okay, I was going to say Ahlers as well, but just making sure.
Yeah.
Either he was crazy good in East Carolina last year.
Yeah. Holton Ahlers won me a lot of money. I used to bet on ECU quite a bit. Dude was a gamer. Like I said, the rich get richer. It's an embarrassment of riches at quarterback. It might be the best. If Perez signs, which he eventually will, I think it's the best, probably the best quarterback room in like as far as a depth perspective
and experience.
And people forget they had Kelly Bryant last year. Like he's not even playing. I don't think he's on the squad. But yeah, between what a quarterback battle that's going to be. I would say you got to give it to Perez. And I think he'll prepare as a starter. I think he'll prepare, and you won't be able to tell Luis Perez no at the beginning of the season because he will outwork every single person in that building. But if times get tough and they need a spark, Lindsey Scott will not be on the bench for long. It's going to be very hard to keep one of the most talented players in the league off the field, and they will absolutely find a way to use Lindsey Scott. And if he starts coming in and throwing it around like PJ Walker, Luis Perez might need another trade somewhere else. Because, man, he's a dog. And Ahlers, too. Like, Ahlers could probably start in a lot of these teams. Like, I know the Roughnecks right now have kind of a tough quarterback situation between Sinet, who I think could be okay, and Garantano, who showed some flashes in college. But, like, I think Holton Ahlers might start in Houston, so there's interesting situations. Like, I don't know much about Michigan's quarterback situation with I know Danny Etling's in the mix, who we saw play at LSU. He was a nice little dual threat guy. I saw him a bit on the Packers. And then they have EJ Perry, who's the projected starter. But yeah, it's just like it's figuring out which guys are going to be that backup that probably should start, and then like will the league move them around, kind of like how it happened with Perez.
Understood. So, yeah. I mean, who knows? Some of these guys could be some trade pieces to see later on.
Right.
These stack rooms, with that trade last year, people see how much that impacted and improved the Renegades. So why wouldn't you try to do some trades if your team's failing? It wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, we need to see it for sure.
Rick 8-Bit says, Wikipedia says Hayes took an athletic director job at Mollaire High School end of January.
That's great info, Rick. Thanks for that. I did not know that. I knew Chuck Long had became the OC there, and I knew he wasn't fired because Bob Stoops goes way back with those guys. Like he played college football with those guys on the same team. Jonathan and Jay, who are brothers, and Jay runs the defense. So that's cool. Good for Jonathan Hayes. He goes out a champion. He goes out 1-0.
I like it. XFL Mike G said they are brothers, Jay and Jonathan Hayes. One is the DC for Arlington, the other is coaching in college.
Yeah, they're great brothers who both played with Stoops in college, and that staff is so tight, man. Like you think about the XFL staffs across the league. I know Reggie Barlow, his staff comes from the HBCU ranks. That he goes way back with those guys, and it's a little different in St. Louis. Like Anthony Beck kind of pieced his staff together last year, but now all those guys are very tight after spending a season together and going through what they went through. Wade Phillips lost his DC and Brian Stewart, who went to Middle Tennessee State, and took, I think, the defensive line coach with him, or the linebackers coach. I'm trying to think of some other staffs. I know the USFL has some, like Skip Holtz, man, what a legend he is. I mean, that guy has been around football every single day of his life since he was born with his dad. So yeah, interesting coaches this year. I think that we need more promotion for the coaches, right? Last year we had a lot of that. They did the round table where we got this, we had the interviews, and we need that. We because I need to learn more about Mike Nolan and DiFilippo and Holtz. And we need that. We need those round tables again that they put on YouTube. And I need to learn more about these coaches for sure.
That was some of my favorite stuff they did. And I don't mean just the round table, but their whole implementation of YouTube, those strategies.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I hope we see that.
They really built the brand for the coach. Like each coach really got their FaceTime.
Yep.
And we really learned their backstories. Like I knew nothing. I mean, I knew that Terrell Buckley was a Green Bay Packer legend and had a great playing career. I knew nothing about his personality, nothing about him as a coach. And very similar with like Reggie Barlow, right? Like knew he was a Jaguar and was a great return man in the league. Never knew like anything about his coaching career. And the league like really pushed Barlow and Hines Ward and Terrell Buckley and Rod Woodson last year as like new coming first year head coaches, and Anthony Becht as well. So yeah, it would be cool to see that again. We have to have, I feel like they're not marketing the coaches enough. I think they need to start doing that.
Yeah. I think we'll see some improvements on that front now that they actually have the rules and everything else set up. But
right.
You could tell there was just one thing as it came with them so far.
That's the content calendar that they have, man. It's all planned out. They got some cool stuff coming for us for sure.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Let's answer another question, dude, and then we'll get back on topic. I mean, we've just been chatting it up, though.
It's the best kind of show.
That's what I like, dude. Just discussing things, not having to stick to a script, just, being ourselves.
Yeah.
Marcus said, how did the Stallions luck out and not have to play in STL or DC?
Is that the case? Wow. Yeah, I knew they're not playing in DC because I know their home opener is DC, which we'll get ready for that. Maybe that's like a Daryl Johnson thing, thinking, the Stallions will be in St. Louis come June 16th, so we might as well just save it for that. I don't know. That's a good question, DeMarcus. I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, what was the largest crowd the Stallions have played in front of? I mean,
they don't announce. They don't tell us attendance.
I could say a couple thousand and being generous, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't tell. Like, I guess did the AAF tell us what they had when it was Birmingham Iron back in 2019? I guess would really be your only way to know, right? Like, they don't report attendance. I tried to find out too. I couldn't find out.
I doubt we'll get that this year. No,
they're going to report it. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they're going to tell us this year. And if they won't, Mike Mitchell will go there and personally count every single person in the stands, and we'll find out.
Pause the DVR and go edit.
Well, no. That's what I found out about spring football. If you don't know something, Mike Mitchell does.
That's how all the guys are. And that's why I value a lot of these personalities, is because everyone brings something different to the table. And it's awesome when you're yourself, you're an individual, and you're doing what you're good at. And so, I feel the same about a lot of these folks, but Mike Mitchell's a man. I love some Mike. Appreciate Mike greatly.
Yeah, I got to say, shout out to all you guys who have been carrying the weight while I've been watching Penn State go 10-2 again. I really appreciate you guys keeping going year round, and while I take a 9-month hiatus from having a show. Hey, we did have a show though. We got AJ, right? That was our big comeback there. I was like, if we're gonna do something, we got to make it big because we've been gone for too long. But Springball Boulevard is absolutely gonna be back for season 2, and we can't wait, man. We can't wait.
I'm excited, man. It's full circle. Like I told you when I met you, it's like, man, I watched your show just wanting to do that, wanting to be like Matty Fresh, and now here I am doing my own thing. And it's cool. Yeah. But dude, I liked your show, bro. Seriously. Out of all the stuff, you don't bring the gimmicks. You don't bring the bullshit. You talk about your topics, you tell your opinion, but that's not what it's centered on.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse, whether it be news, sports, whatever. It's someone telling you their opinion and why you should believe it and listen to it. That shit is old.
Yeah, just for me, it's like I want to cover the sport. I think we're going to do some cool things this year with trying to dial back, right? Because you're right, like trying to dial back the opinionated stuff and just really giving the fans what they want to see. We're ultimately what we're here to do, Matthew, and you're like this as well. we're here to fill the gap that the UFL itself can't cover everything. We're here to fill that gap. And we're here to give you specific coverage or maybe stuff that they can't zoom in on. That's ultimately what we're here for. So we're gonna take the ball and run with it.
I love it. I like it. I'm excited, man. Seriously. Out of all the shows I watched yours. I promise. A lot of them I don't watch.
We got to have you on, man. We got to have you on sometime for sure this year.
Anytime, bro. You just let me know.
Let's do it. You got to have your picks ready though, because if you come on, you're gonna have to make some best bets now. You know that's what we do.
I know that's what you do. You're gonna have to really school me in that. That's where I'm weaker in things. I'm definitely looking forward to it though, because getting into it the first year, that's what we did a show and it was audio only, and I'm like, look at this, look at what they're doing, talking about your show. Look at this. It's like, do y'all know what this means? No. Okay, I'm just wondering. So
yeah, thank you, Chris Zook, by the way. Chris Zook handling all that for me. He's a legend. He does all the tech, and we work together to produce a fun show, and a lot of it, like, it's where you find your inspiration. And we won't go on too much because we talked about it last time, but I have my inspirations, you got yours, and it's where we pull from, and it's where we ultimately want to end up in those seats someday. So that's how sports broadcasting has been since the dawn of time. You find who you love, you find which guys do great work, you copy them. That's basically what it is. And you take the good things and you piece together things from each different outlet that works, and you run with it. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these pop-up like media outlets, right? They're just they don't really have that inspiration. Like they're just trying to figure it out on their own. And you kind of got to have, you got to watch a lot, right? Like some of the play-by-play guys are like, I listen and watch so much. Like I have to watch McAfee every day. I have to watch Josh Pate. Like I got to watch this stuff and I got to learn from it. You can't just start a show without any idea.
No,
right.
No
you have to start watching other people that you respect and you admire and that are successful in this business for sure. And that you can learn a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's
for free, right? It's free. No one's charging you college tuition to watch some of this stuff and learn from it. So
my thing is do that, but don't copy every step.
Yeah, you piece together things, right?
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah, that's how I rolled in this, and that's
right.
It was a growing pains even up to this point. Every session, every podcast. I think I've done almost 60 now this year. Yeah. It's been a year now, so it's been a learning curve. But yeah, man, I totally agree with that, and it taking the best of the best and making it better. That's what it's about.
Sure.
All right, let's get back on this training camp. So our roster cuts, they're going to come when the season really kicks in. And the only thing I wanted to add to this was they'll be allowed 42 active players.
Okay.
And then 8, I guess, inactive. I guess that's what they're considered.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a backup quarterback on each team that will be dressed out, ready to play.
Yeah.
So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. 42, man, it just seems like so little. But, I mean, when you think about like a sideline, that's a pretty full sideline. But, it doesn't – there's so many guys that are going to be cuts are going to be brutal in this league because you're going to have some really, like I said before, really talented guys that get cut. And it's tough because now there's if you were in the XFL last year and you got cut, maybe you played in the USFL, or maybe you did something else. Now it's this is kind of the only thing, right? This in Canada, which
too late now for the most part.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I'm really hoping that there's a balance between this 42-man roster creating competition to get the best of the best. But I hope that they get a fair evaluation process because this is tough, right? So early you don't get much time to really scout these guys. And I'm sure a lot of coaches are going to have to cut guys they didn't want to cut.
Yep.
And just tell them, hey, just stay on call. We'll call you back. You're next man up if somebody gets hurt. That's kind of, like I said, a team 9 where that would be kind of beneficial, but I don't think that's just not feasible with the cost cutting.
That's what it comes down to. Got to cut some of those costs.
And right. I was seeing some of the DC roster projections. I think somebody wrote an article from PFN about like a roster projection, and I was like, yeah, that's a lot of guys getting cut that were either on the Defenders last year, or it's just a numbers game where like some positions are going to be thinner than others, like especially specialists, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking exactly.
Yeah.
They're going to be taking those guys that can do it all. They're not.
Right.
You better be able to have multiple skills in whatever you do.
Yeah, you have guys playing both ways in this league, maybe.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Do some Travis Hunter ball.
Iron Man football is what we call that. That's how it was where I went to high school, man. You never got off the field. So I want to note too, I looked real quick, that inactive third string quarterback, he'll be inactive on game day. He won't be dressed out. But I mean, if he's a backup back, I wonder if he can still play. You know, I don't understand.
In case he's kind of like an emergency quarterback, I would assume. Yeah.
But it says he's inactive, so that's what's kind of confusing.
Probably for like pay purposes, but then
yes,
I don't know if that's how it works. Yeah,
there's a big difference in active pay and inactive pay, if I remember correctly. I don't know the exact numbers, but yeah, there's definitely a difference. Okay, so let's move on from training camp, dude. And we don't have to spend a long time on any of this stuff. I just wanted to hit it and see what you thought and kind of talk about it some more. So we got the rules. Most of it, I wouldn't say it's too big of a surprise just because it's UFL, XFL, USFL. We knew that the rules were going to be different. We knew that they were meeting in the middle on a lot of things. They're trying to give and take depending on the situation. So, I mean, what I did is I just checked out Greg Park's article on UFL Board, and he did a really good job at analyzing a few rules. And I think they're really, I mean, these are the ones that are crucial and necessary for the game. So, I mean, he noted the kickoff. So the kickoff, the XFL kickoff rule was from the 30-yard line, and the USFL was from the 25-yard line. So the USFL won that, and they get it kicking off from the 20 instead of the 25. So that's pretty different.
Yeah, well, I know last year in the XFL championship that came into play when who was it? Somebody like, I think Abram Smith picked up the ball after a 2-point conversion and like pegged TJ Barnes in the helmet with it.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden DC was kicking off from like their own 10-yard line, and Arlington got the ball at the plus 30. Like that stuff can matter. And now you're moving it back to the 20. Ooh, I don't know. I would have rather kept XFL kickoff, but wow, big surprise for me there. Yeah, does that shock you that I'd rather XFL kickoff?
No,
and I don't think that's shocking anybody.
I think,
but I mean, I'm not alone.
This is just trying to make more opportunity to score. It's giving you more better field position. It's not really. There's not. I don't know. It's definitely going to affect some things, but will it really open up things like they expect? We'll see.
Yeah, like we talk a lot about the XFL 2020. I think they got a lot of things right. And Sam Schwartzstein did a hell of a job developing all the rules back then. And I saw he put out a tweet, and it got a lot of engagement about that XFL kickoff and how the NFL was considering it. And we heard all about this. You know, sometimes you hear like these false promises. Like we heard all about the NFL and how they were going to test out these new rules in the XFL. How many times did that really happen? Only heard about two things. I heard about the kickoff potentially being voted on, and I heard the 4th and 15 being voted on, and then like the Eagles voted yes, and like 31 other teams said no. So, you know, if you're gonna say that, like, hey, we're gonna test rules here, like actually do that. Like, don't just say that. You know, don't just say that so that The Rock doesn't come in and give you the people's elbow. Like, so. Like, I feel like they were probably sitting in the room and they probably felt pretty intimidated by The Rock, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll test your rules out. Like, no. But, like, let's actually do it. And it was a bummer to hear that, like, the XFL kickoff was the thing that made it through, and then all of a sudden now we're not going to have it. Honestly, Matthew, I think that they sat in a room in Merge headquarters whenever this was going on, and they had a draft. And they said, okay, welcome to the UFL Rules draft. We're going to flip a coin with the first pick. USFL takes our kickoff. With the second pick, XFL takes our 2-point conversion. Like, there's no compromise. Like, Russ Brandon wants his rules. Daryl Johnson wants his rules. There's no meeting in the middle. I think they truthfully equally dispersed the rules and said, we're going to have to figure out a way to have both. And then you got the 4th and 12, which I think was an AAF rule, if I'm not mistaken. You're going to move that thing up 3 yards? Damn, that's a big 3 yards. That's a big 3 yards. I mean, I put a tweet out about 4th and 15, and I said, I wonder how many, like, what was the conversion rate? I may actually go back one of these days and look to see what the conversion rate was for 4th and 15. A few of them come like off the top of my head. St. Louis did it in week 1.
I was going to say that.
Arlington did it in week 9. I'm probably missing a few. Arlington had that big one against DC, but yeah. Now you move that up to 4th and 12. That's a game changer. That's a hell of a lot easier to convert than a 4th and 15. It opens up the playbook a little bit more.
Now, hold on. I'm going to pull this article up. I'm not trying to prove you wrong, but I want to ask you because it says in the article.
Yeah.
But, here, I'll pull it up. Well, if I can get
shout out Greg Parks, by the way. I read all this stuff. He does a great job.
Dude, he is awesome, man. He's so good at what he does. I appreciate him so much. Between him and Mike Mitchell, things have really gone well for, information wise. We don't get just opinions because of these guys.
Right.
So right here, I mean, he says UFL rule, a slight tweak to the XFL's rule. They keep the 4th and 15, but it'll be from the 28-yard line when tied or trailing in the 4th.
Okay. I don't know about that.
We'll check it out. I can look at it.
Yeah, check that on the website. I'm pretty sure. Wow. I'm pretty sure they moved it. I'm pretty sure they moved it up 3 yards, which I didn't know. I didn't know where that came from because it clearly didn't come from the XFL. I didn't know if the USFL did one. They did an alternative onside kick, but I know somebody said it was an AAF rule.
I'm looking. I got the rule book pulled up. Guys at home, if you are familiar, feel free to comment in. Let us know. Dude, there's just so much stuff in here.
Yeah, because I see where he says in my take, he says something about the 4th and 12 with what you have on screen right now. He might have just mixed that up.
So that is 4th and 12. I mean, I don't want to sit here and search while everybody's on live.
Yeah,
I trust you, Matty. I was looking at it. I was like, hold on before I run my mouth.
Yeah.
Let me check.
Right.
Got you. Okay. Let's move forward. So I was surprised that they got rid of the kickoff, right? But they kept the double forward pass. And to me, this is more gimmicky than the XFL kickoff. I like the XFL kickoff. Yeah. But this if certain individuals see this happen during a game, they're going to lose their shit. I guarantee you that. And so I don't know. What do you think?
You know what, though? I think they'll be fine because I think they'll be the commentary from the live feed from the coordinator booth that we get out of AJ Smith yelling, GTFO, GTFO. I think that will overshadow like the ridiculousness that is the double forward pass. I think people will be so entertained by getting to hear the call.
You know it's coming.
Yeah, like, come on. Like, they called it the Mike Leach play last year. Like, that was amazing when they pulled that off in Houston.
So
we didn't really see it that much. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really play that much of a factor, honestly. So
it was a trick play that works well whenever it works, but it's just like a reverse. It's like if somebody busts that thing, it's going to be some nasty repercussions from that.
I think it's kind of stupid to market 2 forward passes because it's really not. It's behind the line of scrimmage. You know,
I agree.
You're going to tell people that, and they're going to be thinking you can just, we're out here playing rugby.
Shoot. Yep.
So,
But yeah, it's important to remember they got to be behind the line of scrimmage.
Big key there.
We can't just pass all over the field. I think I missed one. Let me go back up. Punts. No, this is another one that people do not like at all. And I'm with them on that because my boy Enrique is in DC. He's not a punter, but if he got the opportunity, I know that he could do it.
Big leg.
Touchbacks will be placed at the 25, and we knew that. The UFL also keeps the gunner rule from the USFL. Any punt that goes out of bounds inside the receiving team's 25-yard line will be placed at the 25 to begin the drive. Similar to the XFL rule, players are now given 1 yard of grace beyond the line of scrimmage that they can travel before the punt.
Okay. So in a scenario where basically, if you were punting to flip the field, if you got your gunner down there and they down the punt like inside the 5, that could still be useful, right, for the punter. But if that, you can't really coffin corner someone, basically,
exactly.
right? So if the ball goes out of bounds, it's basically dead. Like that was a bad punt.
Yep.
Which is crazy. I don't know. See, now that takes so much out of the punter's arsenal, and you're gonna have to get your gunners down there to down it in bounds. Now that's gonna be tough.
The certain field position, you're going to see a lot more people go for it on 4th, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Because you can't kick a field goal. We'll go on to that next. Where'd that go? Well, I guess you can kick a field goal, but the thing about it is, it's like, do you want to?
No, not in a league where you can get a 3-point conversion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they went with the XFL's version. No kicks, 3-tiered options for offensive plays, 1 point from the 2-yard line, 2 points from the 5, and 3 points from the 10. So we already knew this coming from the XFL. And now the USFL, folks, this is going to be a little different for them, since they could still kick their 1 point. I don't know. What do you think about this, man?
I love it. Yeah, keep that. That's another Sam Schwartzstein rule. I love that. And I love when we get in overtime. That shootout style overtime where it's back and forth, the 2-point conversion. I think that's the best way to play overtime. And I think that would have made the Super Bowl way more entertaining if they had just done it that way instead of the nonsense that we saw with Kyle Shanahan taking the ball first and then maybe some of his players not realizing the Chiefs were going to get it and then trying to play for a second overtime. And it was nonsense. Like the clock running out and half of America's thinking, oh my God, they didn't call a timeout. It's 1st and goal. They got to win it or lose it right here. And Tony Romo's losing his mind, and people are thinking the clock's running out. It's really not. It would have just been. It would have rolled right out. Like what? What are we doing? Like
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, just shootout style overtime, back and forth until somebody doesn't get the 2. Right. That's the way to do it, man.
It's exciting when you get to watch it. I believe I watched it in 2020. It was a St. Louis game. I can't remember.
I think the coolest part about it, because they messed it up in college. In college, it's like I watched a game in Beaver Stadium with Penn State and Illinois. Went to 9 overtimes this way. It was the first year they had the rule with the back and forth. They walked up and down 100 yards every time. The XFL got it right. You got offense and defense ready. That is sweet. You miss one, okay, everyone back down to this end now. That was awesome that they did it that way. And I hope they keep it that way now, because that you don't want, you want offense and defense ready. You don't, because the TV broadcast can already be too long as it is. You want to keep that thing going, keep it exciting, Yes,
sir.
Yeah, I like that. I like that rule. You don't need extra points. Let's be honest.
We want more action and excitement. I know a lot of the specialist pro players, the people that really like kickers and such, they're a little disappointed. But I mean, they still have opportunities here, and they're still just as important on the team. Talking about kickers.
Yeah. Well, how about this? Instead of an extra point, let's do, if you can get, because how many guys are really going to kick it into the end zone from the 20, right? I mean, you got to have a rocket to do that. So, hey, I'd be willing to compromise with the USFL fans and who love their specialists. How about this? If you kick a touchback from the 20 and your kicker has a leg enough to get it there, give him a point. There you go. That'll make it a little interesting.
It's kind of like CFL stuff, a little bit there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that.
That's my petition for the new rule book next year.
It's pure football, Matty. It's pure football. Completed catch definition. That says they'll take the USFL NFL lead on this one with 2 feet inbounds required for a catch. So I don't know. I like the 1 foot. I'm a fan of it. It makes things a lot better for me to call good, bad, this catch. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
this one's kind of counterintuitive. It's like you want more. Like every rule in this book is dedicated to more offense and more points, and like none of these rules benefit the defense except this one. This is the only one, right? And I get it. It's like you have to compromise. It's less entertaining, the game this way for the fans, but it does get your guys ready for these NFL opportunities. And I get that they want to kind of emulate the way things are in the NFL, because that's the ultimate goal, is to put guys in the league. So If you're teaching some of these young receivers 1 foot, and then an NFL scout looks and says, well, I don't know, now maybe you got to teach them the 2 feet rule. I mean, it's the same thing in college though. So I don't know. I'm torn on that one. I think you can't have a rule book that's all offense and then throw that in. You got to stick to the theme.
Hey, like you said, it was the draft board, man. The fantasy.
I think that's what they did. Yeah.
And
not even the rules. I think they did that with everything. I think they did that with the teams. I think they did that with, you've noticed, like, the XFL communications department stayed intact. Pretty much everybody's back, right? But the social media team is now on Fox payroll.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that did switch around in that department are not working for the UFL anymore. They're working for Fox. So I think there was just like a 1 by 1, you get yours, and they want it. They're advertising this as an equal merger, and you remember that like period that we were in where it was just we didn't know anything because the government was regulating this.
Mm-hmm.
Man, like I think the government required this to be even because like it was probably a process to go through that and get government approval when you got each side, wanting to come out and get a win. Like, I don't know if each side was necessarily interested in some of this other stuff that was going on. Like, I could tell you right now, the XFL wouldn't have even been in the room with the USFL if this was going to be hubs, right? I think Redbird probably would have said, if we're going to do hubs, we're not going to do it at all, right? So that's tough for the government regulation took a while, and they told us it would originally be a 60-day period. It went way longer. So it makes you wonder if it didn't pass originally and then they had to appeal. And how close was this league like to being told by the government, hey, you can't do this because you can't have a monopoly on spring football. I don't know. So I don't know anything about that, but it seemed like it took a while and it really drug on. And I mean, they couldn't announce the league till New Year's Eve because of it, or New Year's Day. So.
And we were all waiting patiently.
Yeah,
seriously. Tonight. Man, this cold keeps coming through here, dude. It's never cold, and like it's been cold this year where it's hitting me. It's hurting me a little bit. Throat, coughing.
Yeah. I was in Mississippi in October, and it was 100 degrees on October 1st, and it was 32 degrees on October 31st. That'll tell you how that goes down there.
Yesterday it was 35 in the evening, and then today it was 65-ish, 60-ish.
Yeah.
So it's like, what in the hell? Anyway, Mark Nelson, and that's UFL board Mark Nelson, he said Moose Johnson said he drew a line in the sand on keeping the USFL kickoff. That tells you how it was all decided.
Yeah, and the XFL probably drew plenty of lines too. Like, that's just how this thing went. People had to play hardball. And it's not easy when you have the USFL running Super Bowl ads talking about you could actually see real football in April. Like, forget the XFL. Like, and then The Rock coming out in San Antonio during the media scrum and telling me when I asked him about what's it like to get to the end of the season when they told you wouldn't, he said, yeah, we had a lot of doubters and naysayers. You know who that was directed towards? Like the people that were running the ads during the Super Bowl saying we got real football coming up in April. Like this was definitely, I would have loved to be a fly on the wall, man, because there was some animosity, I think, at first. But ultimately, they sang Kumbaya, they got together, and now we got football. So I'm excited about it.
Yes, sir. Agreed on that. XFL Mike G said, I look forward to reading the book about the merger. Yeah, hopefully that's
reading the book, yeah. Can 30 for 30, too. Let's get it going.
That'll be good.
That would be amazing, 30 for 30. I want to see everything. And, it sucks because a lot of this stuff they probably didn't have cameras rolling for.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be all who said, she said.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. But yeah, dude, that'll be cool. I hope there is some kind of, even if they do some stuff this year, make us think we knew what happened. Make us feel like we can understand it, just to give us something to hold on to.
I'm here for it, man. Yeah.
What's it, Mike? Mike, you always got the nicest comments. He said, equal. A lot of USFL employees were let go. Ticket department, team video departments too.
Yeah. Yeah, and then XFL cut their whole marketing out. A lot of the marketing reps, a lot of the ticket sales, I think the XFL had ticket sales teams of maybe 4 or 5 each. And I think they only kept one. I think there's one guy's running Birmingham and Memphis. I think he's running both, you know what I mean? So like that's what we go back to talking about half the jobs. And that goes to from everything from GM to janitor. Half the jobs are out. And man, just all the people that I met in Vegas and Orlando. Geez, you just think about some of those people, and that was right around Christmas. Like that they had to hear that they were being, I think the XFL had the call to tell everybody about the layoffs on like the 23rd. So Merry Christmas, you're laid off. Like,
yeah, that I didn't like any of that. That was the only time I've ever had a bad taste in my mouth, really, from any of this stuff. Where I'm like, hey, okay, let's watch and see what happens, because that's a little messed up, you know. And
the assistant coaches too, like assistant coaches were made seasonal.
Anybody,
the coordinator, I
mean, think about the players. Some of these guys literally skipped out on other deals because they had faith in the UFL or XFL or USFL, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what Rick 8-Bit said. Hey, same could be said for the XFL. Seattle, Vegas, Orlando all lost jobs. Right. And you've seen some of the XFL staff, the ones that were really good at their positions, they did go to other places. And I know if you've been contacting people, and you like me, you've been dealing with individuals that were somewhere else that are here now, you know, so.
Yeah, Jim Haslett I thought was an interesting one because, man, what a story. Like he told us after his last game against DC in the playoffs, we sat down with Coach Haslett, and man, what a guy. I mean, you talk about talking to the press in Audi Field for 20 minutes, and even after the press conference was over, he stuck around to share stories about his career. I really loved Jim Haslett. I think he was a great coach. I think he was great for the league. I think he was kind of that steadying presence when things got crazy for the league, you know, kind of like him and Bob Stoops to be the presence and be like, all right, these are the guys that they've been through this. Wade Phillips as well, right? Another one where it's like, these are going to be our pillars. These are going to be the guys who guide us through. The Rock always talked about how he had no idea how to run a football league. Well, when you got guys like Wade Phillips and some of the execs, like Russ Brandon as well. But yeah, like thinking about Jim Haslett, like that whole staff, like, you know, really good staff. And I didn't hear really too much yet about any of them really going anywhere. I know the coordinators like June Jones and Ron Zook, they're probably about ready to hang it up. But a lot of the assistant coaches on that team were unfortunately let go. And yeah, that was a good squad. It's a shame to see a lot of those guys go, especially Coach Haslett. I really enjoyed talking to him and enjoyed watching him coach.
He seems like a really genuine person. I mean, I've never met him, but even in pictures, you can just tell. I mean, that's a man right there. That's a quality man.
Yep.
So I can agree with that without even meeting him. I mean,
there was a little wonder. There was a little bit of a wonder. I don't think this would have ever happened, but I did wonder when I heard Seattle got the axe if they'd put Haslett in St. Louis because he used to coach the Rams. And I was like, you see, I don't think they would do that though because Anthony Beck moved the needle. Like he did such a good job, and I feel like St. Louis would have been upset about, you know, you just take their coach out of the picture.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. I think Anthony Beck, if anything, would have had to like get a college job or like do something else. I know his son is the starting quarterback at Iowa State. So I wondered, like, you know, if he had any college offers potentially. But yeah, like Jim Haslett, I think something happened back in 2020 where I think he was supposed to take the St. Louis job as well. I forget how it all went down, but I think St. Louis was his original preference, but he ended up in Seattle. And yeah, Jim Haslett will be one that'll be missed. It was fun to watch him, especially when he was mic'd up.
Yeah, it'll be a good once he gets back into things wherever he's at. He's got a stream of people that just follow him regardless. And you know, if you'd have put him somewhere else with someone that's, you know, a dominant leadership, I want the attention, that probably wouldn't work out so well, in my opinion. Jim doesn't seem like the type of guy that acts like that, but you can tell he probably takes control and does things his way.
You know what nobody's talking about? Like, speaking of other coaches, I'm just thinking about this now as we get talking. And if anybody in the chat knows, like, let me know. Anthony Blevins, man, that's tough. I mean, you leave your job in the NFL to get hired with Vegas. You come out, they market you. You come to the showcase that they live streamed. They did multiple interviews with him during that stream. Like, they really pushed into that market. And then it just like, see ya. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
That man better got his NFL job back. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work that way. Like,
Mm-mm.
he's going to win a class action lawsuit. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
That is crazy to me.
he basically took that path of life a whole different direction with this job and didn't work out.
Yeah.
I wonder though, it's we haven't heard anything, not even a blimp of nothing.
It's been completely brushed over. Like Anthony Blevins hired to coach the Vegas Vipers. Vegas Vipers no more than 3-4 months later fold as a franchise completely. Never coaches a game. I don't think was there even a draft or anything. I think it was the showcase was like the only thing that he really got to do. So,
Yep.
and that guy was an NFL special teams coach, right? He had the job security, he had the stability, and you just have to hope that things work out for him because that is a leap of faith that, you want to bet on yourself and then you can only control what you can control. And that's one of those where it wasn't on him, and I guess, you have to think about when you're him and his agent, were there concerns when they went in and accepted that job that, because we knew some things about Vegas already. Maybe they were banking on a relocation and they figured, okay, if we go to Nashville, if we go to Louisville, we're still the guy. But then, it just, at least Terrell Buckley and Hines Ward and these guys, and then Haslett got to coach a game. Blevins didn't even get that chance.
Agreed. We could have been looking at a whole different Vegas squad this year. But,
Yeah.
to be honest, dude, I'm glad they moved on. I didn't want anything to do with that field. I hear so much negativity from people that aren't involved in this scape of things or that are fans of the things. That's one of the biggest negative talking points from last year was that Vegas field. But, I hope the best for him as well. We've talked about it numerous times on the show, but even now, I Googled Anthony Blevins and nothing. There's just nothing. From July 2023 was the last kind of news that you saw.
Well, you have to hope in this next hiring cycle, this offseason, he'll get his NFL job back. That's all. Maybe the XFL, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they've even really offered him a coordinator position or anything. So,
that's what tough. Confuses me as well because there's spots that probably are open still right now. So, maybe it's a money thing,
I don't know, right? Because like what I learned and, reports from Mike Mitchell and things like that, the XFL head coaches were on 2-year deals. So like a Wade Phillips, for example, they had to figure out what to do with him because he was on a 2-year deal. And, luckily got lucky with Hines Ward not agreeing because what would you have done?
I'll tell you.
So I think Jim Haslett's probably still getting paid. I think Buckley and Buckley, Rod Woodson got fired, but Buckley, Haslett, and probably Blevins too. Maybe Blevins too are probably still going to get paid. So,
I'm curious about that as well, and hopefully we get some info because at least in personally, I've dealt with a restructure in 2 different states, and there's a South, so things are a little different down here. But the restructure, I had a contract, and that basically means your contract is null and void once that restructure happens. So I'm curious if, depending on the state or whatever, that it was that kind of how they approached it. The restructure deal. Business is losing too much money. We've got to do this to make the cuts to become profitable, and that happened with a lot of contracted people.
Hines Ward didn't take the pay cut.
Yep,
that's simple.
That's what. Do you personally? Do you feel we're going to see some legal stuff coming out of this?
Yeah, look at what happened with Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon. Like, oh, geez,
it took what 4 years?
What a mess that was.
3 years.
Yeah, that's the next 3 or 4 years. You're going to be hearing a lot about stuff. Everybody that feels slighted has a chance to lawyer up, and it's a shame because that's what public relations is for. The league has to do a good job of managing that, and crisis communications is part of that, of being in public relations and managing when things happen like that. And because they're always going to happen. So we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't give any kind of black eye to the league or anything, but there's obviously going to be some people that have issues at the end of the day.
Yep, no doubt. Overtime Underdog said, mergers are never pretty in business. People get hurt. We should be thankful it wasn't more.
Yeah, the AAF was way worse, right?
Oh,
Just
gosh.
closed up shop in the middle of the night. I mean, XFL at least had, I mean, everything else was going down at the same time with COVID, small businesses, and it was just a byproduct of the pandemic. But AAF, man, that's an example for, I mean, guys were left inside hotel rooms with no flight home. So he's right. At least it wasn't that.
Yeah, that's the worst of the worst. Straight belly up.
Overnight.
Even me as a fan, like when that happened, I felt like a girl broke up with me. Like my wife,
disaster.
Me. Like it was terrible as a fan. Even, but if you looked at the participation, at least in Memphis, it wasn't there in terms of fans. In some cities, it was, but not in Memphis. Regardless, as I always say, if you don't have money in the bank, you're not going to have a football league. Though you need a lot of money, extra money, all the money, because it's never enough.
Yeah, I thought it was funny back in 2020. Sam Schwartzstein, a guy who was he was head of operations and head of rules back in 2020. He said that when they had those Bud Light Seltzer celebrations in the locker room in St. Louis, they had a $10,000 expense they didn't know they were going to have because they had to replace the carpet after their locker room got destroyed by Bud Light Seltzer. So you're right. You just need all this money laying around. You don't know when you're going to need $10,000 to clean up after a celebration. So
that's it. It was Taylor
stuff.
Heineke.
The NFL doesn't have to worry about that, but the XFL does. Taylor Heineke, my guy. Yeah,
that's who it was. Thinking back, he left a little present.
Yep.
So, man, I had the fan events on the agenda, but we've done talked too much. I mean,
there's only one real one that went on. We had Reggie Barlow chugging a beer, threw it on the snake. Listen, we talked to Reggie Barlow 3 times during the show last year, and every time I asked him, Coach, when are you going to get over there after a game and get that damn cup on that snake? We need you out there chugging a beer. I chugged a beer on the show. I was like, come on, Coach, let's go. And he's like, man, he's like, the PR gets me into the post-game presser, and then by that time they're gone. Like, he's like, it's a lie. I got to shake hands. I got to see everybody after the game. And I'm like, dude, do it before the game. Do it. Just do it. And it was great to see him do that at the fan event. I know he's been wanting so hard to do that. And I think that they have to implement that this year where they make it like part of the pregame schedule where Reggie Barlow is going to go over. And that's going to be our thing. That's going to be like when they dot the I at Ohio State, when Penn State runs out of the tunnel with the fireworks to Zombie Nation. Like, I want Barlow sprinting over there, and I want him to dunk that cup on the first cup of the snake. Here it is.
Welcome home. Feed the snake. Yes, sir.
I laughed my ass off.
I mean, they don't even need a mascot. I love those guys, man. Like, they are the best core of spring football fans that there could be. Like, they're all their own separate character, and they all bring so much energy. And yeah, man, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a good time at Audi Field this year. I think that I'm excited about the DC Defenders, and now we got Jordan Ta'amu coming back, another Mississippi guy. He's so quiet. Like, you couldn't have more of an opposite him and McCarron, right?
Yeah,
and that's kind of cool too, because I know they're 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league, and they'll be carrying the torch again this year. But nobody knew anything, right, about Ta'amu's process. Like, he didn't say anything, and he comes from that culture where he, they're taught to be very humble and not express their feelings that much. So AJ's like, listen, I'm gonna tell you what's on my mind. I think Jordan was more out of the spotlight. He didn't want the attention. So, yeah.
Yeah, very humble. And that's what surprises me about most of these guys when you meet them or see them talk in person. You would expect this just swaggy, cocky dude, got these skills, but they are not. None of them, even AJ himself, they're all just like great people. And I'll say that confidently. Louise, Brandon Silvers, I mean, all these guys. Hell, even Cole McDonald. I remember seeing him talk a lot last year.
Yeah, we didn't, right. We didn't have that guy like Antonio Brown, right? We didn't have that Marshawn Lynch. And yeah, these are guys that aren't entitled. And everyone wanted to come at me and say, oh, AJ sounds entitled. You kidding me?
No.
Are you kidding me? This guy, 3 boys at home, each under the age of 8, and he's still playing. Like, that guy gets no time to himself at all.
Seriously. People with kids understand, but people without kids do not. I don't have kids, so that's
right.
Most people with children are just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And that's nothing wrong with
football
that.
Football for 11 months, like
your kids are a priority, but I mean, I think he's really showing his sons fight for what you want and then earn it. You're not just over there griping, trying to get something. I mean, you're going to earn it. He'll earn every bit of what he's done.
And when I made the graphic about him signing, like we put the tweet out early on, what was it, Thursday morning that he signed, and then the league made it official. I wanted the graphic to have his family on it because I'm like, that's really what it's about for AJ. And then I thought it was really cool when his mom replied and she said, I love this. I was like, see, this is what it's all about with these people. Like Player 54, we saw a little bit last year. They came in, they saw the McCarron family. They had the RV there. They're very active in the community in St. Louis. They do a lot. They're like celebrities around there now. And I said, man, we need to get Tripp, AJ's oldest son, to do the opening coin toss in St. Louis. I'll have those people fired up out there for sure.
Man, oh man, I appreciate this conversation, Matty. It's been a good time. 2 hours. It doesn't feel like it, but it's flew by.
Like I said, I'm over here betting on Chinese badminton. So anything to get me away from the damn sports book when there's nothing to bet on.
I see you as being like a UFC bettor. Is that you?
Dude, if it's going on, I'm betting on it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so damn bored around this house, sitting around with no football. I mean, I can't wait. As the clock ticks every day, and I go through and I read websites like UFL Board, always reading them every day. I've even gotten into Reddit. Like, I didn't even know what Reddit was. And now I read the damn Reddit. Like, I can't get enough, man. I'm ready.
It's coming soon, my friend. It's coming.
Hell, I even started a list. I'm keeping receipts. I started a list of people who they need to know at the end of the season they were wrong. And that list is adding up. I'm telling you.
Dude,
come on.
You start from like October to now. There's a lot of things that have been wrong.
I'm keeping receipts, man. Yeah. I am keeping receipts.
Per source. Your source is wrong, buddy. Sorry. But yeah, man. I appreciate you greatly, dude. And hopefully we'll get to catch up at a game.
Yeah. I'll be in Memphis for sure. I'm coming to Memphis. Actually, we'll see. I don't know. I won't announce anything yet, but
yeah,
I'll be in Memphis. I'll be there.
Shoot me a message, dude. We'll get it going. I'd like to get up to DC this year, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I will definitely.
That's a trip for you. Yeah, that'll be. Even if you can get up for, like, I know they play Arlington last week of the season, that gives you some time to plan. But yeah, the home games kind of suck. I mean, it's like, I would have loved the night game. I think I even tweeted out, like, let's do like a DC dark mode where we get like a all black uni. We do a blackout in the stadium. Like, you even ties in like, yo, I blacked out with the beer snake. Like, you could have done that, but now they don't have any night games. They're all Sunday at noon. And I'm like, damn, people are going to be drunk at 7 a.m. in DC. It's going to be wild.
I remember the XFL After Dark last year. And that Seattle game, I think it didn't end until 2 a.m. my time, if I remember correctly.
I am glad they're doing Saturday and Sunday exclusively because, man, that watching those damn games on FX at 10:30 on a Thursday, that's when the real degenerates like me came out, watching Thursday night football, betting on, Seattle, Ben DiNucci playing 4 games in 20 days because they put them on Thursday night. It's insane. But yeah, they did fix the schedule, and now we got it on Fox and ABC and ESPN, which is so cool. Like, they don't have to worry about FX and all that anymore.
I'm happy about that, and I guarantee you those numbers are going to be better just from that alone, from our XFL numbers.
Right. I don't mind the regional game either. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think they should test that out, and they should see how that goes because, I mean, my only concern is I assume that if you have the Fox Sports app and you subscribe to cable and you have the Fox game on cable and you want to watch the other game, I think the Fox Sports app is going to default you to that regional game. So I don't know if you're going to be able to watch both unless you have like a way. Obviously, there's like corners to cut when it comes to this, but like the Fox games will not be on ESPN Plus. That will not be a thing. So that kind of sucks if you can't watch both.
Yeah.
But isn't that crazy that we say that? Because like, man, we got to be some UFL diehards to watch every single game. Like even the NFL diehards, like they'd be watching Red Zone, but they're not going to catch every play.
No.
Like this is real for us. We watch every play of every game if we can.
I'm excited for it. And the way it's structured, it's going to make for much better viewing pleasure for the weekend.
Yeah.
There before,
Saturday,
I was
Sunday.
scrambling to get stuff in and trying.
Right.
No, this time I can casually watch it, enjoy it, and talk about it.
And a lot of they did a lot of Sunday afternoon. We had a lot of Sunday night late games.
Mm-hmm.
And NFL does that. That's great. But like, I'm glad that most of the Sunday games are going to be wrapped up in the afternoon window.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same with you on that.
Because give us more time to a show.
I see. I probably won't record until Tuesday because I know if I'm traveling, I have to spend that Sunday or Monday, depending.
Right.
Traveling back home. So,
yeah, we're probably gonna try to get on as soon as we can on Sundays and see how that goes. And I mean, everybody's doing that. If you can't be live during the games, it's probably beneficial to be live after them because people still have that appetite.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going for a new audience this year. We want to bring the casuals in, and we want to teach them about the UFL, and we want to set this up so that this becomes minor league football. I said that before on the show, and this needs to be minor league football someday for this to work, and I think it can get there. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. And people think minor league or development league is a bad term, but I don't. It can still be professional and then still have that tacked onto it. Look at all the hundreds, probably thousands of minor league baseball players. Mm-hmm. So many.
Yeah.
Anyway, Matty Fresh, man, it's been an honor and a pleasure. I appreciate you, brother. Good luck in your show. Do things big, man, because I'm going to be watching you and supporting you. Do you want to tell anybody at home anything before you roll out?
Stay tuned. Big announcement coming from Springball Boulevard. We are back for season 2, and we'll tell you when very soon. We're going to have something really cool coming up to announce. I won't spoil it yet, but we're doing something. Like I said, we're going to lean pretty heavy on the theme of the show this year into this merge and into this battle of the brands.
I like it, dude. I look forward to it. Seriously, man. Yeah, super excited. I promise. A lot of this stuff out, I'm just like, man, it's the same crap with a different face. It really, it's cool to hear you say that. That lets me know you've been working on it. You take pride in it, and you're going to do the best you can, no matter what it is.
Yeah, as you know, a lot goes on behind the scenes, man. I appreciate you having me, and I hope we catch up at a game again. Like, I love these conversations. I could talk all night with you about spring football, and congratulations on all the success, man, joining you up with UFL board and then getting the AFN going. A lot of your colleagues over there are doing awesome work. I know Plummer is doing a great job, man. I always see his updates every day from AFN, and I know you got some other people in there as well who are and you're even looking for more now. I saw. So
always growing.
It's growing, and it has to be because this stuff never stops. And let's do it, baby. Let's cover another season of spring football, and then when it's all over in June, then we'll be wondering if we'll have a year 3 all over again. That's just how it's going to be. So let's enjoy it while we have it, man. Let's enjoy it while we have it.
You know what I say, man. Keep it up.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Go
sir.
XFL, baby. I appreciate you, Matty. Take it easy, brother.
Man. Thanks, man. I'll see you.
Yes, sir. All right. Appreciate you, Matty, again, man. Super good conversation. It's nice when we can just talk, relax. We have some show notes and we have some stuff to discuss, but we could piece it apart and discuss specific topics in depth. That's really what we're shooting for on the show. So thanks, Matty. Check out Springball Boulevard on YouTube. You can find Matty on Twitter as well. I'll put his stuff at the bottom and then I'll link it in the show notes for everybody if you want to check him out. If you're in this scope and span of things, you know about Matty, but check him out. Really good, unique content, and look forward to what they do this year. And another thing is, if you ever meet him in person, dude's super chill. I mean, I've met a lot of individuals this year, but he's very, very chill in person. So appreciate you, Matty, dude, and good luck. Keep up the great work. like I said, we were going to talk about fan events, but man, it's been 2 hours, so I'm done. We'll talk about the fan events when we come back. Next week, we'll have Horns Forward podcast on. That'll be super cool. That's February 25th, 7:30 p.m. Central. That's for the UFL Insiders Podcast. As for the AFN interview series, I don't have anything lined up right now, though, but should get something soon. That's just one thing at a time. And really, with the UFL season coming, this is going to be my bread and butter, as I like to say. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for participating. Thanks to everyone from AFN that's involved and doing what they're doing. Appreciate you guys greatly. Always great stuff coming out from the crew. We're getting some more articles put out. We're getting more social content. We're getting representation at events. So appreciate everyone on the team. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And it makes a big difference when we are in this collective trying to just do some good work. So thanks again. Thanks to UFL Board. Appreciate you, UFL Board. Good partnership. Great individuals over there. Mark and Greg and some of the other writers there on staff. They're all solid people. They have some good work going. And it's definitely worth checking out if you need to get some news. I talk a lot about Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell is a solid guy. And he's one when I started this that, I never thought I'd be talking to him in person, hearing what he thought. And we've met and we've spoke so many times now and hopefully get to meet him in person. But appreciate you, Mike, man, for what you do. You put out a lot of solid work. People look for you to put things out to know they're official. So thank you, man. Keep doing what you do. We all appreciate you here in the spring football community, even the podcasters. Seriously, it makes a big difference. I think that's all I got. It's always fun, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again for watching and listening. If you made it through the whole 2-hour show, thank you so much. And we're going to keep on striving and working over here at AFN. It's always fun. Thank you again. That's it for me. Have a good night. And remember, spring or preseason training starts February 24th. So most of the guys are reporting Friday the 23rd, and then they'll be ready for the actual camp on the 24th. So don't forget about that. We should have some rosters coming out in the next few weeks that should tell us who's going to really be playing for each team. That's it for me. I'm out. Peace out. Be good. Take it easy. Till next time. Bye.
Go hard. Go home. Go home. Go hard. Go hard. Go home. Go hard. Go hard. Go home. Go home. Go hard. Go hard. Go home. Touchdown like an end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard.